Let's take this one step further. Since we're still feeling in a froggy mood, let's try to draw something like this. This is a full grid of frog faces, where each column of frogs is drawn with increasingly blue faces, as if the frogs are getting really cold. To achieve this, remember that we could draw a grid of things using a nested for loop. In our case, we will draw each frog face using a nested loop, focusing on changing the x and the y coordinates in the update statement of each loop. In our case, I'll increase the x by 100 and I'll increase the y by 50. If you want a more spaced out grid, you can use bigger values for both x and y. To start from white and to obtain increasingly bluer frogs, we will start with 255 for each of the red, green, and blue variables and change them as follows every time we change the column. That is, every time we finish the inner loop and move on to the next value of x. Red equals red minus 30, green equals green minus 20. The final result is this. Ta-da! What if we wanted to do this? Before we panic at the complexity of the code needed to do this, a good trick to remember is that this image is actually a grid of frogs where every other second frog is not drawn, like this. So if we want to draw the entire grid full of frogs, we would use a nested for loop like before. This time, we will use a counter to draw a frog only if the counter is divisible by 2. That is, every time the counter is 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. We will use an if statement to determine if the counter is divisible by 2, using the remainder operator, like this. We need to remember to increase the counter every time we repeat the inner loop, like this. The final code looks like this.